Let me pick your brain then about your thesis, and you're saying how technology diffuses. How can you give us like the layman's terms of how technology diffuses within a region, and how AI maybe is different from traditional technologies, or have you seen anything like that?
Yeah. Well, with regards to my case study, which was the case of Greece, and the reason was that my funding was very specific, and I got the funding exactly because the ministry wanted me to examine the case of Greece, of course.
Mhm. Makes
So
sense.
what we found is that uh, if if multinational enterprises, and that's pretty common in the literature as well, if uh, multinational enterprises have presence in countries that are do not have the proper level of absorptive capacity, then they get to you know work as an outlier. So basically, work on a league of their own, and then it's not easy for the domestic economy to, as I said earlier, to reap the benefits of this presence. And that's exactly what we found in Greece. We found, for example, that in a multitude of sectors,
Mhm.
um, the sectors could not, like the domestic firms, could not gradually adopt all this technology that could potentially be diffusing by the multinational enterprises because it wasn't probably diffusing.
Mhm.
Now, if we transfer now to what is happening here and in the AI space, to go to the second part of your question. Now, according to what I've gathered as information from the interviews, and we've done 25 interviews, so and as I said, with many different actors, I think there is a common ground there, which says that we are currently in a state of transition in the space, and everyone is expecting in the next 2, 3, 4, max 5 years for all these things to settle down. For the players that are, let's say, the enthusiasts and not, um, the hardcore AI, machine learning, deep learning people. So when the dust settles, everyone is expecting that the next phase of what we're experiencing here is that we will have off-the-shelf solutions,
Mhm.
that we will have this infiltration of AI into multiple things of what we're doing in our everyday lives as consumers.
Mhm.
So I think this is when we will see the real diffusion of AI in our everyday lives. And then since this will happen off the shelf, then you will see that diffusing in many different sectors of the economy that we're not really aware of them at this point.
Mhm. What you're saying me, what you're saying reminds me of the notion of democratizing AI, like AI for everybody, making everything a cookie cutter, like a just a Lego piece for the machine learning pipeline. Um, if that happens, and since the internet is global and services over the internet can be global, depending on how you set up shop in different countries, but can be global. Isn't that the locality and that diffusion that you're saying? It kind of loses its local flavor.
Well, I think there is a. I'll go a bit broader, and I will say that I think that in general, and that's mostly my intuition from what I see and hear around me. Large firms that were afraid of Linux, they're now going more open towards Linux. And you see, even in the academia, there is in the last few years a transition towards more and more open source. I think that education, because education is a huge part, knowledge is a huge part of this diffusion process, definitely, of course. It's like the most important. I think there is a global tendency towards freer and freer um, transfer of knowledge. You see, there is a debate going on with regards to why should we pay fees in order to have access to academic journals?
Yeah.
Why don't we transit to the open source? You see open source journals moving up the rankings constantly because people start, they improve their impact factors, so people start using them more and more. So big firms like Microsoft realizing that open source uh, probably is the way to go in the future. So if I'm not mistaken, I think this is something that I saw the other day. So I think people are more and more aware. And to be honest, even with the recent situation with the pandemic, um, you have a thing that I think is opening up. I think all this is opening up, and big firms, I think, will start trying to find other venues to generate profitability, and not so much by hiding behind, walls and keeping knowledge so much in-house. They will definitely keep in-house their niches. They will definitely keep in-house whatever they have as competitive advantages towards the competition. But other parts, I think, will start opening up, and probably AI will be part of this process as well.